Hello and welcome to a Squadron 42 update looking at what CIG have been working on with the single player campaign aspect of Star Citizen over the last few weeks. There were a very minor amount, I suppose, of roadmap updates, but we have seen the player status system version 1 completed, FPS combat behaviours v2 and flight formations have seen a couple of tasks removed, body dragging, FPS realistic firing v2, FPS combat weapon types and death animation improvements have all seen a couple of tasks added as well as progress made to them. Cloth sim v2 and save and load also just saw progress rather than anything else being jiggery pokery around. The roadmap shows that we are still planned to have a feature-complete beta for Squadron 42 Episode 1 by the end of Q3 2020. I think a lot of people see that as an aspirational goal at the moment because it looks unlikely that they will have a feature-complete beta by that time. But that is what the roadmap says. We did see titles appear for columns on their roadmap as well for up to Q1 2021 briefly, but that does appear to have been in error. It will be interesting to see where Squadron 42 lies and where we see like delays and that sort of stuff. Are we going to start to see a release date talked about in the not too distant future? That is my expectation there. There has been a lot of progress with AI that I talked about in my PU, Persistent Universe Monthly Report update that is very relevant for Squadron 42 as well. This saw updates to combat behaviours, the reservation manager, preparation for server meshing, 3D navigation, dynamic collision avoidance. NPCs now set their speed beyond SCM speed, so they can sort of like go up to whatever speed they need to. Social NPCs are being made ready for landing zones as well. Typically, the AI needs for Squadron 42 should be a lot simpler compared to that of the Persistent Universe, in my opinion. There is work on narrative sequences and the abandon functionality, so they're currently focusing on early full chapter playthroughs, focusing on introducing players to what it's like to be a UE and AV pilot. One of the main aims is to have NPCs behavioristically, regardless of the environment they're placed in. The game's levels are designed to be architecturally believable spaces as well, so the AI needs to adapt to them in believable ways. Dogfighting peoples are working with Flight AI to refine scenarios that require custom engineering support. They're also supporting the ongoing ambient ship life work and takeoff and landing updates. Character focus has been on hair, uniforms, and general quality. They have 2 new hairstyles, including that of Captain Noah White's, which is the Onion Knight from the pew 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 dragons Game of Thrones. They are currently working on blonde hair, investigating how it behaves with the current shader, trying to make it as realistic as possible. They've continued making passes on character heads and have started work on the rest of the bridge officer uniform assets. Next, they are looking at battle dress uniforms, which are expected to take around 2 months to complete in their entirety. Real time, all the time is the mantra that CIG's cinematics team seem to focus on. However, with a technologically challenging and beyond cutting-edge game universe, the push to keep things in real time can be complex. For example, in cinematics, it's magnitudes easier to resort to a traditional offline rendering workflow. Offline, you can crank up the detail, lighting, shadows, motion blur, LODs, depth of field to the max before rendering it out and then cutting it all together. So that was like a pre-baked sequence that you'd see in other games. However, the end result is a video with fixed resolution and bitrate. It's basically just like a video that you're watching rather than actually participating in. And the goal with Squadron 42 is to have immersion and authenticity. So they are trying to get everything real-time, you involved, real-time cinematics for even the biggest of set pieces. They recently pushed out one of the most challenging sequences through like its second pass, locking down the timing before starting VFX and destruction simulation. I suspect that this sequence involves the blowing up of a javelin, maybe. They can edit these long epic sequences in real time now too with track view. For example, they can have individual capital ships and exterior fleets on separate sequences, and then they can combine them all easily into like a master track with the ability to quickly assert where they want the camera cuts to happen. Another challenge is getting the streaming system working when cutting back and forth between several distant locations. Most game streaming tech is built with the assumption shots aren't constantly cutting back and forth between different locations, so it's a focus for them to get that polished and in a good state. Gameplay story works on a wide variety of scenes, including supporting design with animations for the abandon mechanic. I believe this is actually where you move away from an NPC that you're talking to, or NPCs break away from a task. So it sort of like has two people are talking to each other and they move away for some reason, or something interrupts them, then they are visibly interrupted, but it doesn't sort of like look janky, it doesn't look silly, it's sort of like part of their reactions and processes, and it's all sort of very immersive. They are currently fixing various edge cases and visual problems, such as animation glitches, and they're trying to add a new system that gives designers better control over how events are triggered. They're also reviewing NPC conversations, adding extra dialogue to make them more natural. They've completed a load of medbay scenes in Chapter 6, updated to properly start and end idles wherever possible. This was an extensive overhaul resulting in conversations that can be triggered with much greater control. This will ensure that scenes look good and play out with the desired pacing. A scene with two characters carrying a large box up a ramp was completed after considerable mocap stitching and is currently looking great. Finally, for gameplay story, new actor records and loadouts were created so several scene setups can be finalised. More engine-focused work continued on physics, threading and performance. They're getting all this stuff for multi-threading and queuing for physics, local command queues, adding the options to create queues on demand all into the game, all into the engine anyway. They began finalising and integrating the new sign distance field SDF system, which basically stores location and distance information, distance information so that you can have like shields wrapping around a target accurately and looking great. So they've been working with that to get various other effects using the sign distance field tech. They enabled foliage to support 64-bit precision status updates and zones. They also continued work on death reaction animations and body dragging, ragdolling, all that sort of jazz, getting bodies aligned correctly when they ragdoll or just walking around on any given surface, because obviously the changing nature of multiple physics grids and moving across lots of different types of terrain is obviously quite complex as Star Citizen. Progress was made on the Gen 12 renderer and Vulkan integration, and there was also loads of general sort of shader graphics improvements that they've been making. Planet terrain was iterated on to support the rendering of large ground-based objects on the height and shallow maps. VFX tweaked several existing background effects and are taking advantage of the recent improvements to the particle system, parent-child hierarchy system stuff. Investigation into further methods of triggering particle effects through gas tech was started as well, and there's loads of gas cloud tech and gas tech that CIG have been working on. Obviously, they've got stuff for Odin system and the coil, sort of like nebula-esque things that have corridors in. There's Crusader, which is a gas giant, and the points of interest are going to make use of gas and gas clouds, and there's also, you know, weather gas clouds, or at least clouds, and they're all sort of slightly different things, and fog's something else as well, but they're all related to each other in some ways. Programmers worked to lock down the final list of features required for Squadron 42 as well. This included fixing long-standing bugs on the GPU system. They ran some tests with Firework VFX that sort of like pushes the system to its max and to its limits, and that helped uncover a load of previously unknown bugs. They finalized visuals for the Inner Thought radial menu, so this is going to give you access to appropriate quick actions. The new Squadron 42 specific visor and visual target have been approved as well for that. Prototyping is ongoing before code work begins. And that's sort of it for the Squadron 42 update this month. We do know that there's been a lot of updates to the UIs and stuff with the building block system. The Squadron 42 sort of information that we've been given and the roadmap updates do feel a little light. I would like some more information on tangible gameplay and features, that sort of stuff. But it's just sort of what CIG do with Squadron 42. They do seem to keep it close to their chest because they don't want to give us spoilers, which is interesting because they do seem to have put an Idris in Alpha 3.9, something that we didn't expect, I suppose. Well, maybe we expected it a bit, but they said originally like the Idris probably won't come out in any form until after Squadron 42 is released. But Idris in 3.9 is just the exterior with turrets, but that's pretty cool still. I'm very much excited for that. But what do you think? Do you think we're going to see Squadron keep close to its current roadmap, sort of potentially having a feature complete beta towards the end of this year? Or do you think we're going to see loads of delays with it? Do you think we're going to see Squadron 42 released early 2021 realistically? Is that a thing? I'm thinking realistically, in my opinion, that we'll see Squadron 42 Episode 1 released Q1, Q2 of 2021. That's my expectation. Whatever your thoughts, though, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month, we have a ship giveaway for Star Citizen. This month, we are giving away an Anvil Arrow Light Fighter and game package with that, so you can have access to Star Citizen if you don't already. All you got to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during the month of March. There are full details in the description below. I am a shill for a couple of companies, NordVPN and NordPass. If you are looking for a VPN or a password management system, I recommend you check them out. They've got many benefits over free services, and as I'm pretty security conscious, I love those kind of services. Also, there's Shadow. If you are thinking about getting a new gaming rig or upgrading your gaming PC for Star Citizen or whatever, then consider Shadow instead. It is a internet cloud-based subscription service like Stadia, like GeForce Now, but this one gives you access to a full Windows 10 environment which is fully customizable, and that is significantly better in my opinion, allowing you to do a lot more with it. Check out the links below for them or use the code BoredGamer for discount. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, there is Patreon, there's the YouTube join member button down below. That really helps. This is a community supported channel and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the support that I get. If you want to share these videos, if you want to comment, give feedback, whatever, that is also hugely appreciated. Thanks very much for watching, guys. You take care and I'll see you in the verse.